Welcome back. So, this is part 3 of our little journey through a method for personalizing instruction for diverse learners. If you've come this far, well done. It's been a bit of a ride. And today, we're going to wrap it up with the planning side of things and how to actually support people, teachers, students, and the whole school community. If you have not yet seen part 1 and part 2, please check the description down below for the beginning stages of this method. Without further ado, let's get started. So let's just take a quick refresher. This whole method was made up of 5 major steps. We did mindset in part number 1, so please go check that out. Then in part number 2, we covered data and tech. Now we get into the bits that a lot of us start with, the planning and implementation side. But you'll see why it's better placed here at the end. Planning and curriculum design is what teachers do. This is 80% of our job. And so it is really important for us to integrate little strategies, little tools, little tricks that's going to help us to do this differentiation thing for our students. Let's see what we can find. Let's kick things off with backwards design. You've probably heard of this before. The idea is you start at the end. What should students know or understand or be able to do when they are done with their learning journey? Then you work backwards to build learning experiences that lead to that outcome. This gives us clarity. It stops you from cramming in content just because it's in the textbook or in a unit plan. And it helps you zoom out in those tough moments and remember what matters. Speak to the other programs in your school. See what are those core skills that everyone needs to learn and go backwards from there. Next up, we have curriculum adaptation. This is where we take content and adjust the way we approach it so that it feels relevant and meaningful for all of our students. This is about ensuring that all students can access the learning. We're not dumbing things down. We're actually just opening them up and adapting the way that the content is presented or explored, offering multiple pathways to success. For example, this might mean adapting a reading comprehension task so students can access it through different texts or topics or support tools, but still reach the same learning goal as other students. So here's an option for practice that I've used before. We take the scope and sequence documents and we extract the learning outcomes that are relevant to this unit of inquiry. Then teachers and students work together to identify the learning outcomes that are most relevant to that specific student cohort and the interests that they have. So that means in practice that some students might become experts in some learning outcomes while others are more interested in different learning outcomes. But the great thing is that the students then come together and share their learning at the end. All right, the big one, differentiation. Everyone's favorite buzzword / nightmare. But hear me out. It's just about being intentional. You can vary the content that you teach them. You can vary the process in which they learn. You can change the product that they create to express their learning. And you can even change their learning environment to support them. But not everything needs to be differentiated all the time. You can choose your moments. And if you're doing something strategically for someone, chances are that others will benefit too. Okay, next up is one of my favorites. This is the Universal Design for Learning. And UDL is where we get proactive. Instead of waiting to find out who can't access the learning, we plan from the very start to remove as many barriers as possible. Let's say you're introducing a new science concept. You show a video with subtitles. Maybe you provide a simple summary sheet that we go over before and after viewing. Maybe you offer some visuals to help students organize their thinking. You let students take notes in their home language. And maybe you even let them choose whether to respond with text, speech, or even a diagram. That's UDL in action. You're creating multiple entry points and multiple means of expression for everyone. What are some options for practice with Universal Design for Learning? Well, CAST has this really amazing visual. It's interactive and it explains all the various aspects of UDL. But what I did was I actually created a planning template, a weekly planning template, to help me turn this into a routine. And so you can see here on Monday, I start with asking the kids questions like, how can we see what students know about this week's learning objective? So I might start with a way to activate their prior knowledge. Then I move on to other things like, how can we show them that it is good to learn this thing. Lots of times students don't really know why they're learning something. They just learn it because the teacher tells them to. So we have to make them care about it. Moving on to Tuesday and Wednesday, that's when we're focusing on our multiple means of representation. How can the students explore this major topic that we're talking about, or these topics that we're talking about? And then on Thursday and Friday is when we look at means of expression, and we are reflecting on our learning. So hopefully this sort of planning template gives you an idea of how you might be able to use universal design for learning in your own practice. Something else you might want to try are personalized learning plans. Now, these don't have to be huge documents. They can be a one-page personalized learning plan with 3 key things on it. What is the student great at? Where do they need support? And what are their goals? At the beginning of the year, perhaps, you might sit down with each of your students and have a talk. What do you love learning about? What's something that's been quite tricky? And what do you want to get better at this year? That becomes our plan, and we refer back to it when making choices or reflecting on progress, and we update it as the year continues. Next up is student agency, which is about letting students make meaningful decisions about their learning, not just what task to do, but perhaps what topic, what medium, and even what timeline. I've done this through free inquiries or mini exhibitions. Students chose a passion topic, they pitch an idea, they select the tech tools they want to use, and create something to share. Some make videos, some build models, some write guides, and I'm not directing, I'm facilitating. It gives you so much insight into who they are and how they learn. In practice for me, this takes many forms, one of which is using flexible seating and grouping, trying to give the students the agency to self-manage and to explore and to access the resources around my classroom in order to complete their task. This really gives them the experience with collaborating with their peers, and also it builds trust between teacher and student, that they know what they need to do and I'm there to help them if they need it. Another way is also by creating a class agreement where students discuss and talk about what kind of atmosphere they want to build in their classroom. And then everybody agrees to that agreement. Then later on in the year, when students struggle with different aspects of learning or behavior in the classroom, we can revisit this agreement. And when we come back to how we all agreed that this is something that is important to us, and students can help each other to get that classroom atmosphere back to where we want it to be, so that our class is a very happy and welcoming place. The strategies mentioned until now are not trade secrets. They're everywhere and have become a cliche in the pedagogical world. But things only become cliched because it works. When done intentionally and embedded into a routine that iterates and improves, one teacher can make a big difference. But we are not alone. We are a team. So let's talk about implementation and support. Let's talk about professional development. None of this sticks unless the adults in the room keep growing too, unless teachers feel confident and capable. So professional development is absolutely key. If you're a school leader, make time for meaningful PD, not just one-off, but ongoing support. Get your team involved in deciding what this looks like and how we go about it. That could be looking like hiring or bringing in professionals to conduct internal workshops. It could be co-teaching models or peer mentors, or even structured planning days where staff collaborate around real case studies. If you're not investing in teachers, you're not investing in students. In practice, this is what it's looked like for me in the past. One of the key places where I go to is the IB's Resource Center. I work in an IB school, International Baccalaureate, and they have a lot of amazing resources that are meant to help teachers and leaders and students and parents as well. So that's a great place to start. There's also EARCOS, which our school is a part of, the East Asia Regional Council of Schools. There's probably regional professional development organizations like this around the world. Also, the IB puts on its own workshops that give certified courses to people who are looking for professional development. Can be a little bit pricey, but if you get the opportunity to do them, definitely do so. Some great free resources come from Toddle, not sponsored, we love them, but There's a lot of really amazing, very useful, very practical things in their Total Learning Center, so please check that out. And then websites are popping up all around, and this is one example of them called EduSpark, where people are putting on little courses for others to take to just improve their own professional development. Up next, we have teacher collaboration. We all know teaching can be a little bit isolating, and that's why collaboration is so key. You're not supposed to do this alone. You also can't underestimate the power of collaboration. Teachers working together to plan, reflect, and troubleshoot. That's where the magic happens. Build a team culture around shared units, shared assessments, regular check-ins with each other. Use shared documents or planning templates. Combine years or classes when needed, especially if you have small schools. 2 heads or 5 are better than 1. So we're a fairly small school, and we have done this initiative to improve collaboration, which involves combining years in smaller schools. So 2 year groups will work through the same units of inquiry to encourage them to come together more often and do some exploration together. This allows for teachers to make more targeted groups within the entire cohort, and it also gives the teacher some extra support. There is another person there who is helping them out, and can take the lead when the other one is busy. Another one that is really useful to help with collaboration is to follow a collaboration calendar, making sure that there is time given to teachers to make sure that they can meet with the various people that they need to meet so that they can make the learning decisions that push the learning forward. Consistency is key when it comes to collaboration. A reliable teaching partner is great, but students need a whole web of support. And support systems are more than just 1 or 2 teachers doing their best. You need the infrastructure. And this means perhaps learning or language support staff, perhaps counselors or assistive technology, or even buddy systems. Maybe a student uses speech to text. Maybe they check in weekly with a learning support teacher who helps you to co-plan learning strategies. Maybe you've got quiet corners or sensory tools in the classroom, or you make use of technology that helps all students access the learning. Sometimes when we're dealing with a struggling student, teachers get this urge to maintain their control and try to move the kid in a specific direction, even though they clearly don't want to go there. This is where we have to shift our mindset from teacher as the sage on the stage to teacher as the guide on the side, teacher as the facilitator. This is a huge mindset shift. You're not in the front, you're not the dealer of all knowledge, you're the guide, you're the coach, you're the curator. You might start letting students make decisions about pacing, about task order, about the resources they use. Then be there to challenge, to clarify, to stretch their thinking. Your role becomes more about asking the right questions than giving the right answers. This allows students the room to support their own learning through your guidance. Sometimes we see students as the problem, but what if they're also the solution? We can't just expect students to know how to ask for help or to use supports. We have to teach them to solve their own problems. That way, it's not just about you adapting for them. They can learn how to own their own learning. Maybe run a few explicit lessons on how to use classroom tools, or how to track goals, or how to reflect on feedback. Make it normal to say, I don't get this, can I try another way? You're building independence and confidence at the same time as making your job just a little bit easier. Where this shows up in my practice mostly is within my classroom, in my physical space. Now, this is not a picture of my classroom. I wish it was. However, there are many strategies that you can implement within the physical space of your classroom that can help students know what to do in specific situations. For example, a colleague of mine made a little box that was in the corner of her room that had little tasks inside the box. And when a student was finished with something and they needed an extension task, they would go and sit on top of the box. And the box had a big question mark on it and had, it would look like a Mario brick or box. And the teacher would see the student sitting on that box. And when the teacher was finished with another student, they would come over and help the student who needs the extension look through the possible options of things that they could do next. And then they would go off to their table and finish the task that they needed. This was a very environmentally based solution to a classroom management problem of students finishing early and needing an extension task. So find different ways that you can experiment and try to set up your classroom so that students can independently access help without needing to bother you or to take you away from another student that you might be helping. And of course, we cannot forget the home front. Parents should know what supports are in place in the classroom and how things are going. That way they're more equipped if you should ask them for help. I love using portfolio posts and weekly updates, or even small things like assigning homework tasks to students for them to do with their parents. This can create really strong bridges and connections between home life and school life. Families need to understand what's happening in your classroom, and when they feel in the loop, they really feel that the classroom is a supportive place. If you support them, then they will want to support you. And this is what it looks like for me. I try to send out weekly updates that have just a bulleted list of the things that we did in the previous week and the things that we will be doing in the next week, so that parents have an idea of what's going on and how we're progressing. Next, I like to give parents a window into the classroom by snapping a couple pictures here and there and writing a quick description and sending it through on our communications platform. They really like to have this way of engaging in the classroom. Sometimes we might be updating students' goals with regards to their different subjects, so students and parents can both be in the loop of the growth of the students. And then also, I really like to involve the parents in homework tasks. So for me in my classroom, homework is not just something that a student does by themselves, writing down or practicing or something. Homework is more about engagement and getting the parents involved in what's happening in the classroom, so that learning is not just the student's responsibility, it involves the student's whole community. More on that to come, but that's how it looks like for me. And that's going to be it for now. You did it. You did the thing. You made it through this whole method. And more importantly, you've got ideas. You've got direction. So now, go and do even better things. Take action. Try something small. See what happens. And hey, let me know how it goes. I'll be right here rooting for you. You're doing an amazing job.